Hello and welcome to This Broadcast Belongs to Them. Ralph, I thought you lived in Florida.
I just did this right now. Somebody told me earlier, you can do this on Zoom, and I just did it.
Yeah.
You moved.
I got a background. I just clicked the background thing and choose the first one I saw.
You know what's funny about that? I was reading the book that came with the Volume 4 Super Deluxe earlier, and they're talking about the early days, and Ozzy comes out with, what is this shit? If you go to San Francisco, be sure to wear a flower in your hair. I've got no shoes on my feet, mate.
Well, this isn't about Ozzy, but actually talk about Ozzy just for a second. No more tours for Ozzy.
Poor Ozzy. He lives to tour. He lives to perform.
He does.
This is a gut crush. This is a blow to that poor man.
He needs to relax, though. He's got so many health issues and Parkinson's. Come on.
He doesn't want to. I don't think he's going to last long, frankly.
No, it probably can.
I don't put stuff on Sharon, but I hope she goes before him so she don't have to pick at his bones, you
know. But hey, we are back with the King Diamond podcast. It's been a while. It's been probably a year since we did this show, I think. I don't know. Seems like a year.
You might be right.
It might be. But actually, this episode is going to feature a interview that me and Lisa did, I think, 2 years ago with Matt Thompson.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
So
Thank you for that, Wayne. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Cool.
So everybody's going to get to see, finally get to see that interview. It was real fun. And we're trying to get King Diamond on the show. I've got to hook up for King Diamond. So hopefully, I'm hoping.
We better say some nice things about this album then.
Yes, please watch your mouth. Or watch your tongue, as King Diamond would say. But today we are up to Abigail 2, the sequel to Abigail. I don't know if we needed one, but we got it anyway. And this is The Revenge, by the way. So it's actually the first album to feature Matt Thompson, which I mentioned, and it's also the first to feature Mike Weed on guitar, and also the first album for Hal Patino to come back since The Eye. So got Hal Patino back in here. It was actually one of my favorite bass players, I think, in the band. So it's got a good lineup, I think, on this album. What does everybody else think about the lineup?
I'll agree. Musicianship is stellar all over this album.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially the drumming. The drums feel a little bit more livelier than on House of God, and Matt Thompson really, shines on this album, and I think everybody does. So, music-wise, I like it a lot. But I'll dig into the plot here because sometimes I think some people think it's a little confusing. The plot correlates with that of the original Abigail, and the listener discovers that she is actually the half-sister of O'Brien, the mysterious leader of the Black Horsemen from the original album, and is kept alive by his intervention. The Horsemen having originally planned to nail her into a coffin with silver spikes to prevent her emerging again. The year is 1863, and Abigail has just turned 18 years old. While out walking in the forest, she is caught in a storm that takes her by surprise, causing her to lose her way and stumble upon the LeFay mansion, the gates to which are locked tight. Certain that she will succumb to the elements, Abigail is surprised to see Little One, the ghost of the original Abigail from 1777, unlock the gates and disappear into the house. Abigail enters the mansion and is greeted by Jonathan's imposing and shaven-head servant, Brandon Henry. It is revealed that Jonathan did not die after he fell down the stairs, but uses a wheelchair part-time and must walk with a cane. He has not moved on from Miriam's death and now calls himself Count de la Fay. He greets Abigail, calling her Miriam and believing she is beloved, who died while giving birth to Abigail. He coaxes Abigail into sleeping with him in his bed, where he rapes her in an attempt to produce an heir. Abigail, fueled with vengeance, goes to the crypt to see her past incarnation. Brandon Henry, who had warned her to never go into the crypt, finds her there. Abigail takes a sharp necklace from the mummified baby's neck, the same one from the eye, and slits his throat. She puts broken glass in Jonathan's food, beats him with his cane while he chokes on his own blood, and then sets him on fire. The flames finally killing him, the fire spreads from Jonathan to the window curtains and finally to Abigail's dress, and she and the mansion are consumed by the flames. As the fire cannot reach the basement and is therefore unable to destroy the crypt, the spirit of Little One is unable to pass on and is bound forever to the world of the living, crying out for her mother. So there's a lot to take in there.
It's a lot. And wait, I'm just trying to do the math on you're my half sister, and these other horsemen that were like riding around in the rain and shit, and they're like, "Were you gonna tell us this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna kill this evil baby, right? We're gonna do this, right?" And
he sounds like
no.
Yeah. It sounds like what would happen if you let George Lucas make it into a series of movies. There's way too much going on there.
Or like the what is it, the Star Trek Discovery where Spock has a sister. It's like Spock never mentioned his sister. Sarek never mentioned no sister. All of a sudden he got a sister. How the hell do you? So I'm trying to do the math.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. She is O'Brien's half sister. So explain that to me.
Well, maybe if he ever comes on the show, he will have to explain himself.
Oh, wait, his sister? I thought, never mind. I'm confused now.
And then there's some about I was your aunt in another life. I was your auntie. I was your father's sister in another life. Did you remember that? Did you see that? Okay.
Probably. I don't remember.
I'm telling you, this shit is confusing. And why was that necklace on the baby's neck?
I don't know. I think he always tries to work in that necklace in every album somehow. He always mentions just like he mentions them all the time, and it's always in quotes in the lyrics. He's always got to throw the necklace in there somehow.
I'm still confused, man.
Well, I'm just as confused as you are. Who wants to go first? Ralph, you've been quiet. Go ahead.
Well, before I get into the album, I own everything King Diamond. And this is one that it didn't do much for me, and I was kind of like disappointed in it. And I think the problem was that I was judging it too much on the first Abigail, because today, while I was taking notes, I freaking love this album now.
Really? Because I remember last time you were on the show, you were bashing it a little bit.
Yeah, taking notes today, and I'm going, damn. The thing is that it does have kind of a slow start, but man, it gets so much better. Yeah. It's a really good album now in retrospect. Now I got to go back to, I'll wait till we do the review for Give Me Your Soul, Please, because I remember that didn't do much for me. So maybe taking notes for that, I'll wake up. But I love Puppet Master, but I was really amazed. So we're going to go into the songs now?
Yeah, let's go into the songs. Well, you already told us how you think about the album, but yeah, the first song, Spare This Life.
Yeah, it's a cool, eerie intro with the same voice tone of the first album. That guy talking on the intro of the first album. It's cool. It's a cool little, setup. I dig it.
Then we go into The Storm, an actual song.
I talk about the storm.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Spare the first song first?
Spare This Life just
song
it's
by
like an
song?
intro.
How do you want to do it?
We always do a song by song.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the intro. That's right.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with that intro is the same issue I had with Fatal Portrait, in that as it goes along, it becomes more and more unintelligible. So I remember when I first had this album, I think I just had it on a cassette and I listened to it in my car. And as it goes along, his voice gets more, and it's got this effect on it. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. So I'd have to be reading the lyrics, which I didn't read the lyrics. I'm driving my car. So
right. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I understand what he says, but I think it's cool sound like Lou. Yeah, no, it's cool sounding. It's spooky with the thunder in the background, the keyboards, and the almost the same talking from the original Abigail album. So it's an okay intro. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, the intro is pretty cool, but I'll just say it right now because I was talking to you about this earlier, Wayne. I love King Diamond. I love Merciful Fate. He's a great songwriter, but even still, listening to this again now, it just doesn't do it for me. It's very bland. I listened to this 4 different times over the past week and tried to take notes, and just all the songs run together for me. I just couldn't stay focused on it. So I can't really tell you track by track. I don't even really remember the name, but the band plays great. The musicianship on here is great. And there's good, memorable guitar parts, and it has a lot of that creepy, eerie melody King is known for. It's just the songwriting, for whatever, for me, just doesn't do it on this one.
Well, there's going to be some songs that you
runs
do
together
remember.
in one big mess, huh?
There'll be some songs that you do remember because you did talk to me about some.
Broken Glass was cool. I think that's what it was called.
We'll get to it. So then it comes into The Storm. I really like this song. It's a good opener, and I really had a good feeling about the album from this song alone. King features some vocal parts from the original Abigail album, which I thought was really cool. Some really groovy guitars, and drums felt alive, which was really missing on House of God, like I mentioned before. It's my second favorite song off the album. What about you, Ralph?
Oh, this is a cool tune, cool riff. Nothing wrong with this song to my ears. I think people measure the original to this, and sure, it's not as strong as Arrival, but it's still a pretty kick-ass tune. I really dug it. I like The Storm a lot, actually.
What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I think it's a classic opener for a King Diamond album. And so, it's got a classic King Diamond riff, pounding drums, and it has what I call the Muppet.
Oh no!
It was hours ago when she left her home. That kind of groove that they have going on. And it's a good mix. There's a kick-ass solo, and there's lots of changes and riffs going on in a relatively short song. So it actually sounds like it's longer than it really is because there's a lot going on. And it is pretty typical of a lot of King Diamond, but for this track at least, it's kind of like, hey, if it ain't broke, it's a good formula, do it.
Right. Greg, you got anything for this one?
I really liked the riff in this one, and I was excited when it started, and then, like I said, I just fade out. I feel really bad saying that because I like pretty much everything he's done. Well, we'll get to the other one later on, but I was just amazed how it just kind of all faded together.
Yeah, it does feel like one long song in a way, kind of the whole album, because it kind of doesn't stop each song, kind of just like leads into the next one. But Mansion Sorrows next. They tried to do something similar with the intro as the song The Mansion on the original Abigail. Unfortunately, this song isn't as good as that one, but it's okay. Probably my third favorite off the album. I do like it. I thought it was cool to have that sort of like flashback to the original album. What about you, Ralph?
Not a strong chorus on this one, and some parts of the verses is lackluster to my ears. But that's about it. It's like 30% of this song is like whatever. But the rest is pretty killer, especially the musicianship. Yeah, there was just some parts that I just felt, yeah. But it was like, yeah, it was the good outweighed the bad. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I like it. It's got Andy LaRocque's fingerprints all over it, musically. But in a way, it sounds like, and the musicianship's, out of sight. The drums are stellar. But the lyrics seem a little like they're a little forced in. And I think that's what happens in some of these, the King Diamond and Merciful Fate albums, or it's the King Diamond albums, that are like, I'm going to tell a story during an entire album. It's like, okay, I got all these lyrics and I got to jam them in here. And so it doesn't really have, the chorus isn't that catchy. I like the creepy henchman part of the story. I like that. It's like Igor showing up. But, and I was wondering what the chorus meant. I thought it was kind of clever because there's some foreshadowing in the lyrics.
Right. Yeah, not a bad. So what about you, Greg? Anything for that one? No.
I really like this one musically, actually. This one reminded me a lot of like classic King Diamond, although interestingly, it made me think more of Fatal Portrait than the original Abigail.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, a little too much in the lyrics on this one. That's kind of where it fell apart, the chorus, but it's a pretty good song.
Miriam. Decent song. I like the chugging guitars. One thing I'm not crazy about, and I think King started using them ever since this album, is the tambourine. There's an annoying tambourine throughout the whole thing, and but decent song nonetheless.
I thought something was wrong with the stream I was listening to until I realized it was tambourine.
Yeah. What about you, Ralph?
This one's not bad, but it's not great. It's kind of just there for me. It's got some cool riffs. But the vocal melodies kind of bother me in spots. It's not horrible. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's one of my least favorites on here. I think that was the problem I had with this album when I first got it was this is the opposite of Front Loaded. I think this album gets much better as it goes on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's there.
Lisa does not agree.
I don't agree. I think this album started out really strong with that first song. And I think it kind of has this little, it bumps up, and I think there's a lot toward the end that's not that great. But Miriam I wrote down, nice melodic opening verse. I like this song, but it needed a chorus.
Yeah.
So I think that's
a lot
what
of them
I'm
did.
missing, is there's a lot of these. And here's some of the things that I noticed is that I would go back and I go, oh yeah, that riff sounds like this song, or that riff sounds like this song. So I was going back and I was listening to other King Diamond albums, and I was just going, oh God, this song is so good. Oh, that chorus is so good, and just like, so I can't help but compare it to other albums.
Yeah. But like you mentioned, I think that's what the whole album is missing. There's not many choruses, not many like catchy stuff that he's usually known for doing, Yeah. It's like a few, but it's like towards the end.
Yeah.
Greg, you got something here? You look like
yeah. This is well, I had a pretty funny thought when I listened to this one initially. This is really where it kind of takes that dive where I was talking about, where this starting with this song and then the next couple, it's very pleasant. It's very melodic. There's some really cool guitars. The drum work is great. But they just don't stand out. And a lot of it is because the chorus is on it. And when this song played originally and it got to the chorus, all I could think is, God, and this is the same guy that wrote Gypsy and Come to the Sabbath, man. Right. Yeah. He's so great. It stood out. And it's not that it's necessarily bad. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
Well, some of the lyrics are goofy. What was this thing about? You can even call me Lucy. You can call me Ray. You can call me Jay.
Is he adding characters from other albums,
from the
Yeah.
graveyard he was referencing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the weird thing about that is, other than dropping it as like a name drop Easter egg, it doesn't serve any part of the story. That's what drove me nuts about the references on this record to other stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool, I guess, in a fanboy respect, but it doesn't really serve the story. It's more confusing than anything.
Yeah.
Well, I remember earlier in the storm, this is something I forgot to say, saying about it, it seems to be alive.
Yeah.
For that, and that was like
Right. For the house.
them.
Yep.
And then lurking in the dark, he says the words lurking in the dark in that album. And something about never did she see the eye.
Right.
So there's all these little references, but those are more like lyrical storytelling references that you can use in a lot of different contexts instead of like Lucy. Like, why are you jamming that in there?
Yeah.
It's a little goofy, but I get what he was trying to do.
Yeah. Little One. I believe this is the first King Diamond song in a long time to have someone else besides King Diamond's voice on it, with the little girl yelling "Mommy." I remember back, with the what the hell's the album? Conspiracy. I don't remember really anybody else doing anything on the King Diamond albums. I don't know why, but I'm. What the hell did I write here? I don't know why, but I'm. Oh, in the intro where the music stops and she yells "Mommy," creeps me out. I remember listening to it on headphones and just hearing "Mommy." I'm like, what the fuck? As far as the song goes, it's okay. I really like the intro with the acoustic type guitar sound, but once the actual song kicks in, it's just a little bland to me. There's also a part in here that reminds me of one of the songs from House of God. The other thing that's missing from this album too, there was a lot of really cool acoustic guitar work on the original Abigail album, and they kind of do it on here, but it's like with the electric guitars acoustic thing, and it doesn't work as well. I'd like to hear a real acoustic guitar doing those things. I think it's missing a lot of that. What about you, Ralph?
Oh, I like this one a lot. I like it all the way through. When it kicks in, there's one of the riffs. It sounds like it borrowed it from. I even had to go back and listen to At the Graves. There's a riff that's kind of like comes on here, but that's okay. I think it's a cool tune. I think it's one of the better ones on here. This is when it started to pique my interest, man. I was like, ooh. When I listened to this one today, I was kind of like, damn, I don't remember this song. It's pretty damn good. Yeah. I like the Little One. It's cool.
Lisa?
I think I wrote down lots of potential, cool guitar licks, clever opening instrumental. I thought it was really cleverly written, and I love it when guitar parts kind of like interlock, they share separate spaces, and there was a lot of space there. Cool riffage, but I don't think, there's that guy, Trey Xavier. I don't know if you ever follow him, the metal songwriter guy. He's great on YouTube, and he says, riffs are not a song. Riffs don't make a song. And I don't think the riffs save the song because the chorus is weak. That's a thing that I found in common with too much of this album, is that I'm not even sure, am I listening to a chorus right now?
Right.
And then I only find out, I guess that was the chorus because he repeats it later on. Yeah. But the musicianship's, out of sight. Yeah. And the riffs are, colossal, but I don't think they save the song.
Greg?
Good riffs, but just a really kind of boring song overall for me.
Yeah. Slippery Stairs. Really nice guitar solo in the intro of the song and actually throughout the song. Like the guitar melodies in the chorus section. That's all I wrote. Ralph?
Yeah, it's got a great opening riff and solo. It's a cool tune. I mean, in past, maybe one or two King Diamond albums, there's kind of we gotta mention this for the story, and the story takes over more than the music. Where I think on this album, the story is fitting the music great, and Slippery Stairs is part of the story, of course, and it fits. It's cool. I think it's really cool. I like it. I like Slippery Stairs. Not as much as Little One, but I did like Slippery Stairs.
This is one where it does the crazy laughing, right? Oh no, that's the other song. Okay, I got it. I just saw it here. Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this one. And it reminds me of another King Diamond song that's in 12/8. There's this lick in the beginning of it, and I couldn't track it down.
Mm.
I didn't have enough time today. I was like flipping around. I was like, that's part of the reason I was listening to these other albums.
Yeah.
So it's a LaRoque thing. It's just little, technique that he does.
Yeah.
The story, of course, takes a really horrible turn. Mike Weed's solo section is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's the most amazing solo on the album. Is there's two, he does two solos toward the end of the album, and that second to last one is unbelievably good. Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, Mike Weed coming into the band really, made the band a lot better. I mean, not that the other guys were not good at all, but I think Mike Weed fits the band the best, since the earlier albums. Greg.
I really like that beginning and the solo, and then Mike Weed's solo later on. But this is another one where it's just kind of there for me. It works well with the story. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me personally.
The Crypt. I really like the guitars in the song. They almost feel like some weird evil carnival type thing. I can't really describe it, but I like this song. I like the back and forth with the acoustic and then to the heavy stuff. Ralph?
Yeah, I love this one. This is when it really starts picking up for me. It's my second favorite on here. I think the killer changes are fucking awesome, and it's a heavy ass tune, and there's a great mood on this song, and it's got a good vibe. I dig it.
Yeah. Lisa?
Ralph, is this acceptable to you?
Yeah. Yes.
Noticed your t-shirt. Is this acceptable to you? Sorry, that's terrible. I know. Here, what did I obscure reference? King, doesn't he sound like Alice Cooper in the beginning when he's singing really low? I think he sounds like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, you're right.
That's kind of cool. Cool, fast riffage. I wrote, this album is not short on badass riffs, but it's low on catchy vocal melodies and choruses and doesn't keep my attention. So I'm going to echo Greg there. This sounds like this song and some other songs on the album, in general. If I'm hanging out with a bunch of people at a party, it's cool to put it, play it in the.
I lost sound all of a sudden. Can't hear anybody. Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody. The fuck happened? Hello? My internet connection is unstable.
No,
there we go. It's back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay. Shh.
What, did you say something about me while I was gone?
Yeah.
I'll find out in the recording.
Yeah.
Greg.
The Crypt. Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah, I think so. I forgot. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This one, even though the majority of it kind of fades in with the other songs, I like the back and forth of the electric and the acoustic, and that main riff is really badass.
Broken Glass. That's that damn tambourine again, and it's so like out in the open almost. Such a stupid thing.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, it's funny because I actually on the album that's coming out soon, I put a tambourine on it only because of this King Diamond, because it reminded me.
Good for you. I'm proud of you, man. I'm fucking proud of you, dude.
I had to put it in there. What were we saying, Greg?
It works on this song though.
It does. It does. It's just so weird though, hearing him use a tambourine. It just doesn't. It's not King Diamond, It's weird.
Well, it makes sense with like the Puppet Master though.
Yeah. Where did I leave off? It's such a stupid thing to bother me, but I can't help but hear it. I laugh at that one part where King uses that deep voice like he's singing in some kind of opera.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, ooh. Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. But it's actually a good song. I do like this one. What about you, Ralph?
Which one is it? Broken Glass?
Broken Glass, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a killer intro. Overall, the song is kind of fair. To me, it's not a standout, but I don't hate it. But it's not one of the better songs on here. I think it gets much better after this, but it does have a cool solo as expected. Yeah. That's how I feel about Broken Glass.
What do you feel about Broken Glass, Lisa?
I'm glad that it has a mid-tempo feel to it, because I think a lot of this album is like, let's have all this fast shit. It's like, but listening back to some of the earlier albums, all that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff that I love. It's more mid-tempo. And then you put a fast break in the middle of it. So it's nice to get that break, but still, I feel like it's kind of meandering and it doesn't really go anywhere.
Right.
Greg?
Yeah, I feel the same way you do. And it's actually funny because after listening to this, I think it was the second time around, both the mid-tempo and then the start-stop thing they kind of do here, it reminded me of the Jonah from Fatal Portrait. And I was like, oh, cool. It's really going to fucking kick into high gear here. But then it gets to the fast part in the middle, and it just kind of meanders for the next 2 minutes.
More Than Pain. My favorite part of this song is King's Laugh. Haven't heard him do that too often, but it fits perfectly here, and he does it great. Ralph?
I love it. Pretty twisted track with King making those strange noises as well as the laugh. It's pretty short, but effective. I liked it a lot. I like More Than Pain. It gets better.
Yeah. Lisa?
It's like, I think this is my favorite track on the album because, well, the bass playing is cool.
Yeah.
And the vocals are like hilariously over the top. And that's what I live for when it comes. It's like, it's so hammy. And he just, he doesn't, it's like zero fucks given. He's given it all. And the best, it kind of reminds me of Spider's Lullaby. Some of the stuff that's on there that's really kind of goofy and twisted and really over the top. I'm losing my marbles kind of vocals. Yeah. And those, because I was kind of like, I'm not really into this album. I'm not really enjoying listening to it as much as most King Diamond. But those laughs, man, worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I think so. What about you, Greg?
I agree. I like it strictly just for the vocals, and those laughs are awesome.
Yeah, those laughs are great. The Wheelchair. I like this song. I like the harpsichord along with the guitars in the intro and how this song just starts up and goes. In the middle of the song, though, there is a similar section to one of the songs on Voodoo where he's like, drink the chicken's blood. I can't remember what song that was. I actually think that was Voodoo. Yeah, I think it was Voodoo. Otherwise, cool song, some really cool guitar solos in there, and had a really good flow. What about you, Ralph?
Love this
how's your
song
flow?
so much. This is my favorite track.
Favorite track?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're talking about The Wheelchair, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's my favorite track, and also Science.com, it's their favorite track.
Yeah.
There is this fast-paced, total metal vibe to it. It's freaking killer. The Wheelchair is my favorite track off this album. Love it.
Very cool. Lisa?
I don't know, man. I mean, there's heavy drums, pounding riffs, solos galore, but they're leaning on the speed and he's leaning on the speed, leaning on the riffage, and it's not, to me, inspired songwriting or arranging. It's a bunch of cool riffs and you shove some lyrics in it because it doesn't have like a memorable chorus, and it just, I don't know. And also, what is this? I was the sister of your fathers in another life. What?
Abigail goes to West Virginia.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. So anyway, not my favorite, but yes, it definitely pounds, definitely riffs galore. Anybody who likes guitar and likes guitar riffs, this track is for you.
Is it for you, Greg?
Remember it?
I remember it in the basics. I can name you individual riffs. No, it's like what you were saying that it reminds me of something you play at a party. You stop after you do your shot, do a little air guitar to the cool solos on this. But I mean, I really can't say anything bad about the way it's played. It's just not a very memorable tune overall for me. And that was the problem I kept having with this. I'd hear like, "Oh, that's a cool part. That's a cool part," but it just
didn't develop
got that
more.
thing, a lot of bass, most of it, and it just kind of.
Spirits. This is my favorite song off the album. Has a really catchy chorus, and it's more along the line of his usual stuff. This is that one song you can pick from the album as that standalone track, I think. There's some really fast double bass going on in here from Matt Thompson. I like how he's able to change the speeds of the double bass. Great guitar work as usual. Ralph.
I like this one too. Many changes, got a bit of a twist to it musically, and it keeps me interested. It's a cool tune. I dig Spirits.
Yeah. Lisa.
I think the vocal harmonies are really stellar. It's got this. There's a second half of the chorus. Again, it was kind of like, are we in the chorus? And I was like, oh, okay. And there's a second half of the chorus where there's this big tritone that kicks in, and that's really cool. And they stick with that, and they do an instrumental section after that, and solos come after that. And I really like that section right there.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like, here's the story again. This is where I get confused again. It's like, there's all these spirits. Oh, there's just spirits everywhere. They're just flying all over the place. And you're like, wait a minute. There's Abigail. It's like, how long has this place been haunted? I don't get it. Is this like Ghostbusters? Remember Ghostbusters where it lets them all go and they all fly?
Greg?
This would be my favorite from it. And if I was going to pick one song from this to put on a compilation, it would be this one.
It's usually the one I do pick for a compilation.
Yeah, the story gets a little loose here, but lyrically, I think it works very well, including the chorus on it for me, for this one at least.
Mommy, cool, this song is okay, but nothing as good as the usual King Diamond album end songs. Ralph?
Oh, I disagree. This is killer. Oh, no. I love when King Diamond does that. Oh, no.
It's like a crow.
Yeah. Great harmony solos, an awesome mid-tempo track. I think it's a great ending to this album. Awesome. Love Mommy. I think this album is better as it goes along. That's how I feel.
Lisa.
Yeah, I like it. It's got a kind of a chuggy groove to it, and the verse is pretty cohesive, but still, I don't think much else is. Yeah, I mean, it's got some cool grooves in it. And then there's another thing about, here's another lyric thing, isn't it? Story thing. Only I and a few others know who her mother really is.
Oh, it's going to be part 3.
The Countess. And then at the end, it's not your mommy you're looking for, it's yourself. Far out, man. I don't understand. So you need to get King Diamond on this show so he can explain himself.
All right. Write these questions down so when he comes on, we can ask him. Greg?
It's an okay ender.
Right. All right.
Oh, yes. And I also wrote down...
What?
Like I said to you earlier, this is King Diamond's Beverly Hills Cop 2, world's okayest sequel.
Oh.
I like Beverly Hills Cop 2, and I like this album. Don't get me wrong. It's just like everything he does, even on the Spider's Lullaby, when it's not a full story, it's usually always memorable in there. This has all the classic elements. It just never really pulls together completely. But it's not a bad record. It's just not one of his best.
What were we saying, Lisa?
I did write down killer drums.
Yeah.
So really killer drums. that song.
And then the album ends. Sorry, dear. It's just I guess that's Abigail crying or whatever in the basement in the crypt.
Yeah, it's a crazy outro, and Abigail's fucked, but
Yeah,
she does like the dark though.
yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah.
You should have just tagged it onto the other song though, instead of making its own track. So that's the album. Like I said before, the thing with this album is I think to really enjoy it, it has to be listened to all the way through. It's not anything like the original Abigail at all. There's some vocal things in here, or there, but musically not much. There's none of those epic acoustic intros or memorable like Black Horseman or Seventh Day of July, Family Ghost Arrival type songs. There's none of that here, and that's where this fails as a part two. It didn't have that. It didn't have to be a copy of Abigail, but the song should have been at least up to par as the original album, and they're just not. But it's not a terrible album.
I'd have taken a crunchy, memorable riff like Black Devil.
Right.
Doesn't have to be the original Abigail.
No, it doesn't have to mimic, the first album, but it should be at least be kind of up to par for that album that everybody knows him for,
Yeah. Well, I'm always curious about the songwriting process. And it's like sometimes you write songs from the inside out. And it's like this chorus that you get. It's like I just wish he had, like, during this process, like, okay, I've got the story in my mind, but I'm not going to write down anything until I hear it, and let me hear that catchy chorus in my head while I'm taking a shower or driving my car or walking down the street or something. And then, oh, that's it. And then fit your lyrics to that, and you can change the syntax or whatever to make it fit. But I think it's just those that's the main issue I have with this album, is the lack of memorable choruses. And I think that has to do with the songwriting process not starting from the chorus and working its way out.
Yeah. Well, I think he fixes that on the next album, but we'll see about that when we do the show next. Since Lisa and Ralph, you haven't been on here in a while. What's been going on, Ralph? What have you been doing? Anything? Anything musically or anything? What's Thrash or Die doing? Anything?
Nothing. Still waiting for the boys to get together, and spoke with the bass player the other day, and we got ideas, but no, nothing. I've been cranking Splinter Thorn a lot.
Yeah, that's a good album to crank.
It's awesome. Severed Angel.
So that'll be out May 2nd. So everybody will hear your narration May 2nd. Finally.
Sweet.
Look forward to it. And Wayne, I gotta compliment you.
What?
On the drumming on the cover we did of Unholy.
Yeah,
is stellar. It's so good.
Thank you. It did come out
heavy duty, man.
Yeah.
Really good drumming.
Cover.
Thank you. What about you, Lisa? What's going on with Splinter Throne or White Crone or whatever else you got going on? I know you got a lot of shows going on.
We've got some shows coming up, and we've actually got some shows coming up with the Bay Area thrash band Blind Illusion. So,
I like.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? We're going to be in what is this? Petaluma, California, on April 15th. When is that? With the Phoenix Theater. We're trying to find a gig in the Sacramento area on April 14th. So wish us luck, or in Redding. If you know anybody, let me know. We have Sunday, April 9th, we're doing a show with them at a place called The Garages in Lake Oswego, just south of Portland. So we're looking forward to doing kind of a West Coast run with those guys. And, we're still promoting the album, The Greater Good of Man. And, I'm always trying to, if I can get somebody to buy this album, I can justify having Bandcamp Pro. Am I right? And then I'm actually writing new White Crone songs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so I just contacted the drummer and said, hey, we need to start working on some tracks, dude. I've got like 3 songs that are finally coming together in my spare time.
We need to get you out on the East Coast.
That'd be cool.
We need to get you out
Yes.
here.
Yes, we want to do some festivals, man. So we're looking, a lot of the stuff that's this year is already booked. It's hard to get into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But we would love to pack our asses in the van and go out there.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Maybe we'll get to play a show together one day.
Now that would
I would love to get like you guys together and Emissary. You played with them not too long ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some other bands that we know together, and it'd be a cool show. We'll see what happens.
Let's make a festival.
Let's do it. The Red Sound Review Festival.
Yes. We all play King Diamond covers all night.
That's all we'll do all night long. All right. Well, again, it's been fun getting to have you guys on the show. It's been such a long time. I feel like it's been forever. I miss both of you, and I miss you too, Greg.
Oh,
I just saw you about like 10 minutes
It was
ago.
really cool. I'm glad.
I was going to
I'm
say,
glad
I missed the two of them. You, I seen it.
But hopefully we'll get to do this sooner rather than later, and hopefully maybe next week we'll set up a show and do another one. So until then, guys, we will see you then. Goodbye. Oh, and enjoy the Matt Thompson interview. And it was really cool. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh.
link
What?
to that for sure.
I forgot.
What?
Macamagob. There you go.
Yeah,
Smack
and
it
we-
off.
and
Sammy Hagar sucks.
Yeah, that's another.
Song ever. Go listen to it now.
That's good. Oh yeah. Thanks, Greg.
he was one of my top replacements.
Huh?
Sammy Hagar is one of my top replacements.
Yeah, but you're Wayne.
All right. Goodbye.
We're here with Matt Thompson from King Diamond and a bunch of other bands. You know what? I was on your website just to see like all the stuff about you, and you had this long list of bands you've either been involved with or whatever. It's just I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty old.
Yeah,
I've been doing it for a long time.
yeah. How long have you been drumming for?
I started kind of when I was 7, and then I started taking lessons formally when I was 9 in elementary school.
All right, cool.
Well, your father was a musician, correct?
Yeah, that's right. He ended up as a recording engineer for NPR for his career, but he's always been a pianist and a trumpet player.
Wow, that's great.
So a family full of musicians. It's always how
That's
it
right. My
starts.
mother, my mom was a violinist.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And they were crazy enough to get you a drum kit. That meant rehearsal was at your house.
Yeah, I mean, it was a row house, so it was pretty loud. My neighbors had to put up with it, and I don't understand it.
Well, we're happy.
So what got you into getting to play the drums?
It was a neighborhood thing. Just a group of us guys hanging out, and one of us got a drum set. He was like a year older than us, and let me turn this ringer off. He got a drum set, and we would compete to see who could learn the most beats and who could play him the best and who could play him the loudest. You know, we were pretty young. So then we all ended up taking lessons, and a bunch of us from this neighborhood ended up playing drums all the way through school and hanging out together. And we just had this culture of drumming that was always there in my neighborhood.
Oh, really cool. Yeah, I didn't have no friends like that. I actually play drums as well, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Or sorry, whatever the case may be.
I was reading on your website, and I saw you were involved with being nominated for a Grammy for the Never Ending Hill song off of why do I keep forgetting the name of that album?
Give Me Your Soul, Please.
Give Me Your Soul. Why do I forget? It's right behind me, and I'm looking at it. Never Ending Hill. But I also noticed you were nominated for a Grammy for a polka song. What was that about?
Yeah, that's kind of peripheral. I played on one song on this album. Brave Combo is a polka band from the town that I live in, which is Denton, Texas, and I'm friends with those guys. I've known them for a long time, and I do sessions with them here and there and different gigs and stuff. And I did a session for Carl, who's the leader of Brave Combo, and he ended up just putting one of the songs on the album. I didn't know he was going to put it on there. I thought it was for like a solo project or just. But anyway, he ended up liking it so much that he put it on the Brave Combo album, and that ended up getting nominated for Best Polka Album.
Wow.
So I sort of sneaked my way into that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you also are involved with like jazz bands too, right?
Yeah, not so much right now. There's not too many gigs right now. There's some guys locally who are working, but I have a church gig every Sunday, and sometimes I play jazz there. But as far as jazz gigs go, I haven't really been doing many gigs with the kids. I like to go to sleep by 9, and I like to wake up around 5.
Yeah. Well, there ain't nothing really going on. I mean, even Lisa, she's a musician as well. So she has a band, White Crone. She also has her blues music too. So neither one of you guys are really touring or doing anything right now.
No.
So
I had
like
100 gigs vanish just within a 2-week period. It was just all my tours, everything just gone. So blues music that's how I make a living, is blues music. And so, you got metal and polka. I've got blues and metal. So, what the hell. But I've been doing a lot of live streaming, and my husband's a musician. He plays with Sugar Ray Rayford. And he's been doing a lot of lessons. He just did a bass lesson today. And so that's what you've been able to do, is do lessons online and in Skype or.
Yeah, mostly FaceTime. I've been doing remote lessons for a few years anyway. So I teach at a private school here in Texas, and all of them went remote, and we're still doing that because it's great. It's a lot better, I'm here at my studio, and it's like 10 minutes from my house. So I'm doing that, and my studio is always open for business. So I've been doing a lot of tracking.
Good.
For different projects here and there. I finished a bunch of tracks for my band Rathmore, which is like a Celtic rock band. And we lost, I think we lost like 7 or 8 gigs when that happened, in March. Because that hit in March, and we're a Celtic rock band, so we lost like all of our gigs. That was it. It's kind of a drag.
Wow.
That was around the same. Yeah. Was that around the same time the King Diamond concert was over too, right? His tour.
I got lucky with King. We did 2 major tours in 2019. We did Europe and the US, and finished it up in December. So it was well before the COVID thing. We had to cancel 2 shows. We canceled Sao Paulo and San Diego. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had those 2 shows booked, and we had to cancel those.
Yeah, that sucks. Everything's canceled, even his Merciful Fate stuff. But everything's getting rebooked again. So hopefully next year this will be all said and done with. So yeah, right. All right. So
let's hope.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention, because when I was reading through your thing. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It was Dan Spitz's other band, Do Monkey or something. How were you? How did you get involved with that?
You're digging deep, man. Wait.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you guys located?
I'm in New York.
Oh, okay, both of you?
I'm
in Portland.
Portland, Oregon. Oregon, West Coast.
Portland's still there?
Yeah, she's one of the last people left.
No. Well, people think that Portland was on fire because of the protests, when it really was just like a 3-block area that had protests. It was really the whole city has been completely normal this entire time. But now Portland is literally almost on fire because all the surrounding communities have fires, and I have dozens of friends that are evacuating or are evacuated or have lost homes already now. So send some good mojo our way, because it's really bad. It's dark outside already, and it's not even 6 o'clock. It's really smoky, hard to breathe. It's pretty devastating out here right now. So send us, do a rain dance or something for us.
Are you in danger, Lisa?
We live up against a park that is bone dry. There's a creek that runs in the back that's pretty much gone. So the fires aren't near us, but if somebody sparks something up here, we're not going to have much chance. So we figured out, we can get all the instruments in the van and get the important things. And so we have things that are semi ready to go, but we haven't gotten a warning yet. So, yeah.
Well, I know you guys spark it up in Oregon, but this is ridiculous.
Exactly. Well, it's like, don't spark it up.
I'm sorry.
The wood pile there.
Well, it shouldn't be a joking matter. Sorry to change the subject, man. You're talking about Do Monkey or Duh Monkey. I'm not really sure how that's pronounced.
Whatever that was called.
Yeah, it was a thing. Dan Spitz, I think, put out an ad. How did this go down, man? Okay, yeah, he put out an ad, maybe on even Craigslist. Or I'm not actually sure where he put the ad out, but a friend of mine in town who's an engineer producer, and he runs a studio. He contacted me and said, "Hey, man, is this something we should go for?" So we kind of both contacted Dan at the same time, and so that's kind of how we hooked up. Mm-hmm. I had met Dan previously in 2006, I think, in Copenhagen. Anthrax was doing a reunion, and King had the night off in Copenhagen that night, and I ended up hanging out with Anthrax that night. That was cool, and I got to meet him. And anyway, but that wasn't how this went down at all. We answered an ad, and I ended up doing a bunch of tracks for him, and I don't think it really went anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I remember it was like this big build up to this whole thing, and then it just like fizzled out. So, and then when I saw you were part of it, I'm like, when did anything even happen? So,
well, I also know that Dan took up a cause. He's got either one or two autistic kids, so he took up a big cause about. He went on tour, and I think he was raising money for charity, and I think it was called Autism Speaks, if I remember correctly. I don't know if I should plug it or not, but anyway, it seems like a good cause. So I think his focus went in that direction, actually, is what happened.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, so nothing never happened with that band. So all right. So then, how did you get involved with King Diamond? I noticed you were going to like from what your website says, you were going to a college or whatever, and then all of a sudden King Diamond contacted you, and then you were in King Diamond. So how did that really happen?
That's it.
Really?
You nailed it. No, it's a little more complicated. The deal is, I was in Dallas from '92 on, playing gigs, scrapping, and I played all kinds of gigs and all kinds of scenes, and I ended up. One of the studios I was working at was Nomad Studios, which is in Carrollton. Mm-hmm. And the first act I played with there was Michael Harris. Michael Harris contacted me to play on his Surgeon album. It's an album called Surgeon Encyclopedia of the Insane. Mm-hmm. That I played on with Michael Harris. It's heavy, it's progressive, it's really cool. And Michael Harris started doing his stuff at Nomad, so then I did, and I started getting work. And Nomad is where King Diamond was recording King Diamond and Merciful Fate at the time, through the 90s. He did all of this stuff there. And also in the early 2000s when I joined. And the owner of Nomad was good friends with King, sorry. I mean, back then too. And also with me, I got to know Gary pretty well. And Gary told me that one day King heard Encyclopedia of the Insane by Surgeon coming through the monitors and said, "Oh man, that drummer's good," or something like that. I don't remember the exact words or whatever. And I was like, "Gary, if King ever needs a drummer, you got to tell him to call me, man, because the music's right up my alley. Boom, ba boom." And yeah. So years went by, and I kept working in Nomad, and nothing. And I was going to UNT, and then it just kind of came together. He needed a drummer, and he called me. Like, it was really 2 weeks after I got my diploma, man.
Oh, really?
I was thinking, I was trying to decide LA or New York and what to do, and he ended up calling me, and then about 5 months later, I was on my first tour with him.
Wow, that's insane. Wow. Now, were you a big King Diamond fan before you joined the band?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first King Diamond album I heard was Abigail, and that was the year it came out.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, like Mickey D, you can't listen to him and be a metal drummer and not be a fan of him.
Exactly. How did you take, like, when you started the band? how did you feel playing Mickey D stuff? Some of his stuff is pretty complicated, especially on them. He seems like he's a very progressive player on that album. Was that easy for you, like, to pick up all that stuff?
I agree, but that progressive stuff, he does it on all the albums here and there.
Yeah, it seemed like on them he really picked it up though. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. Did I find it difficult? Honestly, by that point, where I was with my chops and my head and stuff, no, it wasn't, because like I said, I'd been scrapping for 20 years already at that point, like playing gigs and learning music all the time. And I was in school practicing 6 to 8 hours a day, and then playing another 6 to 8 hours a day, and then gigging those at night, on the weekends. So at that point, it was just a matter of learning those songs in the process that I already knew, and just playing them,
Yeah.
Well,
Were your friend? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I've seen you say that King Diamond is a heel up gig. And if you could describe
heel up gig, yeah.
It's a heel up gig.
That's kind of a drum nerd vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's different ways of playing the bass drum. One is heel up, one is heel down. And heel up is it facilitates a bigger stroke because you can use the whole leg. Whereas if your heel is down, that's where the fulcrum is, and that's kind of it just limits the amount of muscles doing the job.
Yeah, but it's a high
energy. When you do it the right. Yeah, you can wind up and stomp on it if you're doing heel up. So but honestly, like, heel up is 99% of what I play. I rarely play heel down these days. Heel down for me is really just for acoustic jazz where the bass drum's tuned wide open and there's like an unmiked piano or an unmiked acoustic bass or something like that. The lower dynamics.
Is Mickey D your favorite drummer that's been in King Diamond? Or in Merciful Fate?
You know what? No.
No?
That's complicated, man. Okay, as far as drummer, yeah, he's the best drummer out of all of us. Yep. But artist, I think that goes to Snowy, man. Snowy's like he's a great drummer, he's a great visual artist, he's a great guitar player, vocalist, conceptual, writer.
Yeah, he does it all.
Like, he does it all.
Yeah.
He does it all.
Yeah, he's really cool. We had him on the show last year. Actually, we just finished up his last episodes a couple weeks ago. Very, very good interview.
Far out, man. Yeah, but I think all the drummers are great. Bjorn is awesome. Kim is obviously awesome. He had his 70s swagger to him, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What can I say? They're all great.
Have you ever got to meet up with any of the older ones?
Yeah, I met Bjorn a few times. He lives in Copenhagen. I saw him play in a club in Copenhagen one night, and he was greasy, playing blues, that was cool. Let's see. Who else did I meet? I know John. John's from around here.
Okay, yeah.
On Voodoo and House of God.
Yeah.
Any of the other ones? Yeah, I met up with Snowy a few times over the years, at gigs. And Mickey a few times at gigs, same kind of thing.
Didn't Mickey come out on stage? Did Mickey come out on stage one night not too long ago? Yeah.
Yeah,
how was that?
A couple times, I think. Yeah, cool. I thought I was going to break my drums.
Really?
You change your heads, man.
Well, they weren't my drums, those were drums I was borrowing, so It would have been cool.
Oh, wow. So do you don't bring your own kit around with you, or how does that work?
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, but for that particular tour, when that particular tour when he came out, he used. We were using a borrowed kit, but now that I remember, he came out at a festival, I think. After that, and I was using my own drums. I was using my own drums from 2003 to 2006. No, 2006 was borrowed. Sorry, man. I was not prepared for this question.
It's all right. So was I. It just came out of the top of my head.
All right, here it is, man. If you want to nerd out, here it is. The 2001 tour in Europe, which was my first tour, I used a borrowed kit, and I used my own for the next two, which were in the USA. And then Europe 2006, I used a borrowed kit. And then at the reunion in 2012, I used a borrowed kit. In 2013, I used a borrowed kit. And then from 2014 on, I used my own kit. Because Tama was like, okay, all right, here's a drum set.
About time. I'm more surprised you actually remember all that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I know. To me, everything is a blur. It's just all a blur.
Yeah, I think I'm actually surprised I remember that too.
Right. All right. So now you're in King Diamond, and he's doing the Abigail 2 album. Now, you said you started with Abigail, the original Abigail. What did you think Abigail 2 was going to be like? Because Abigail 2, that's like the King Diamond album to start with for everybody. And usually when you do a part 2, it always, sometimes it can be a good album. Sometimes it might not be. I mean, I liked it. I think it's really good. But what was your expectations of Abigail 2?
Expectations, I don't know if I had any expectations, really. My attitude going in was to trust the process. King is still a metal legend, and he was back then. So I just kind of went with it and brought my own ideas, and I was learning the process along the way. But as far as expectations, I don't really know. It's a good question. You stumped me.
Yeah, so you were saying you brought your own ideas, and you feel like you were given a lot of artistic license. Just wondering, how involved were you in the pre-production process? Do they bring you tracks that have drum ideas on them, or do they want you to come up with your own, that kind of thing?
Yes.
It depends on the song, I'm assuming.
Well, okay. So I'm given demos, right, to learn the material, and then I come up with as many different. I try to, for every song, I try to come up with different alternatives for grooves and fills. And then when we go in the studio, we start recording, and some of the stuff ends up the same as the demo, because that's how everyone's used to hearing it, I think, including me. And then there's some stuff that I'm able to change, because it's a good idea or whatever, or it works for the tune. But also the thing is that King knows what's going to happen with the vocals later.
All right.
And I don't. So I'm kind of trusting him to do some stuff, Like there was one time where I definitely disagreed with him. It was during the Puppet Master, and I was like, "Why would you do that?" And then when I heard the album with the vocals, I was like, "Oh my god, that is like freaking awesome!" But I would have never done that. You know what I mean?
Well, what song was
I
that?
think that works. That was
Remember?
Should I say? All right, it was
Yeah,
Magic.
of course.
It was Magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. It's a part where the time is kind of flip flopping around. It turns around here and turns around there, and I was like, "What?" I just couldn't hear it, man. And then when I heard with the vocals, it clicked.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's cool.
So that seems unusual to me, for you to be working without a demo that has vocals, because to me the vocals are the guidepost for a lot of the music. So that seems pretty unusual. Or are these songs still in the process of being written, and that's why they're not on there?
Well, it's not very unusual to me because I work that way a lot. I get a lot of guitar scratch tracks. A lot of the stuff I do is guitar with click, and then I don't hear what the vocals are doing until later. No, I agree that the vocals help. We did Masquerade of Madness. When we did that, we had the vocals, and I think that's why that song is solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In our opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
It's good.
It seems odd. Seems odd to me. All
right. So, and also on Abigail too, Hal Patino joined the band again. did you get to talk with the other band members while you were in there recording, or was everybody kind of doing their own thing?
No, yeah, everybody came together. They all flew over from Europe to do that. And I had already hung out with them because that was after the first tour. Mike and Hal also joined at the same time that I did for the European leg of the House of God tour.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they were still doing House of God. All right. Wow. I didn't know that.
Well, the first half of the House of God tour was the House of God lineup.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think they quit or whatever happened after the first half of it. And then King had the European lineup already booked. Excuse me. So that's what I got hired to do initially. But I got hired as King Diamond's drummer. So boom.
How long did it? Yeah. Were you still listening to like the King Diamond albums, like House of God and all that stuff, before you joined?
Before I joined, no, because I was I went to University of North Texas and I majored in jazz. So I was in a different world for 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. And I was still doing metal, but mostly I was doing jazz. I wasn't really, my focus wasn't on metal during that time.
Yeah. How long did it take you to learn all those songs then? Or how much time did he give you?
I had plenty of time. I think I had like 4 or 5 months actually.
Wow,
Oh, okay, so
that's plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was ready to go. And then after that, I think we had 2 weeks of rehearsal in 2 different locations in Denmark. So yeah, I mean, we were ready.
What'd you think of that album, House of God?
House of God, it's an interesting album. I think it's story driven. I think it's got some really badass riffs on it.
Yeah.
Like Help, I think is a really badass riff.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. So, I did. I'm a blues artist. I'm a recording artist. I've made a lot of records in blues, and I've made 1 metal album, and so I pretty much played everything but the drums. And I was going to try to play this. It wasn't going to happen. So I got an electronic kit, and I wrote the drums, and I played them shittily and sent them to the drummer. I mean, they're embarrassing. They're really embarrassing. And so there were time, for the most part, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm hearing. So this is what I want. But every now and then he would say, look, don't do that. That's too old school, or it's, don't do this. Try this, do this, do this. And he would fight for it. And so you were talking about you'd have a few arguments about that. Do you feel like that's a process that, did you always feel comfortable doing that? Like right away you were like, no, I'm going to fight for this part. This really works. Or is that something that over the years that you've developed this, familiarity and feel like you can really fight for a part?
Yeah, I feel like I can fight for a part if I wanted to, and I have.
Yeah.
And I do. I mean, the last album we made was "Give Me Your Soul, Please."
Yeah.
And it's there's tension, but I have to say King's very professional about it. He wants to hear what I have to say. So yeah, I think that it went most smoothly on the last one. As the albums went by, it got smoother and smoother for sure. But that that tension, I think, is something we both welcomed. Because we wanted to work that stuff out.
Yeah.
And the parts are better for it.
That's right.
So yeah.
Right.
So you must be doing something right, because so far you've been the longest running drummer in King Diamond.
Yeah, maybe it's I recognize that I should be a conduit for King's vision, and not a resistor. That's not my job.
All right. So Abigail too. Any stories from the recording session? Anything?
Stories from the Abigail 2 recording session. Well, it was very exciting. It was my first my first big, I guess, professional sort of major label kind of thing, major to me anyway. And I remember they did the graph, with the songs and the different parts that needed to be recorded, and they filled it out as we went, and that was pretty cool. And I did my parts in a week. Hung out with Cole a lot, the engineer. He was a cool dude. Ended up hanging out with him a bit after hours. I was a bachelor. And yeah, what can I say, man? It was an exciting time, definitely, at Nomad to be doing that.
Now, was there anything on this album, since this is your first time, that you felt like you should have done differently and you tried to get him to change it, or how did that work?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things I would have done differently. If I had my way, the drum sound would be huge, and there'd be a lot of 30-second notes and paramediddles and skibbida-bopadiddles, bunch of flim-flams.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like when that album came out, a lot of people were saying, or they didn't believe you were actually playing the drums, and it sounded almost like a drum machine or drum tracks or whatever.
Yeah. Well, one of the experiences I had there is that I had just come out of, pretty much UNT, and I was playing organically and getting a lot of different sounds out of the snare drum. And the way they recorded the drums on that album was they put triggers on all the drums and on the kick drum and on the snare drum. And it made the feel kind of weird. And then no matter how hard I hit it or how little I hit it, it was the same kind of tone,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got a very European kind of production. They're Europeans, man. What do you want?
Do you have a favorite song off the album that you like to play?
Man, we did Spirits a lot.
Oh, live. That's a good one. I love the chorus in that song.
I think it's one of his best choruses.
Yeah,
seriously. I mean, the words, the music, how it comes together, it's magic, man.
Yeah.
I mean, not literally. It's not the song magic, obviously.
Speaking of magic, have you been around any magical things or any ghostly things since you've been with King?
Ghostly things?
Yeah. Anything.
You know what, man? I just I've always been pretty fascinated with the occult and aliens and ghosts and stuff like that, but I've never seen anything like that. I think maybe my vibration rate is a little too slow, or maybe too fast, but they're on a different frequency.
Yeah.
So, like ships in the night.
Because he's always had
nothing.
Nothing. Wow. Well, because he's always had these stories. Years ago, all these things that used to happen to him. Did he ever tell you anything?
Oh yeah. He's told me a bunch of stories, and it's there's people who tell me all kinds of stories about ghosts all the time. And what can I say? I don't know.
What's one of the good ones?
Ghost stories with King. He was in an apartment. It was a long time ago, so I guess it was in Copenhagen or Denmark where he lived, and he shared it with a couple people, and like there was all this crazy stuff happening, like I guess like the glass moving and stuff like that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Boo!
Oh shit! Jesus Christ!
See,
you are a scary man.
I know.
Yes. So how was the Abigail tour?
The Abigail tour, wow, man. Wait, the Abigail tour? The
Abigail 2 tour. We're talking about Abigail 2.
God, we didn't do an Abigail 2 tour.
No?
Did we? No.
Wow.
We did not. My tours were as follows. I did the House of God tour, then we did Abigail 2, and we didn't tour for that, and then we did Puppet Master. We toured for that, and then we recorded that and did Deadly Lullabies, and then we toured for that, which was a live album.
Right, yeah.
And then we did that in Europe, and then we came back and we did Give Me Your Soul Please, and then we had 2 tours scheduled for that, Europe and the U.S., and then King had a big problem with his back.
Yeah.
So we canceled those. It was a long break from there on out.
Wow. Well, I had no idea he didn't tour for that album. That's crazy. Especially with everybody back in the band. I figured the band would have been like, this big thing, especially with Abigail too. That was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess what can you do? All right.
I don't know. Yeah. They tell me to go here, I play the drums.
That's it.